Hey gang, it's Hans Brunner here, and I'm here to tell you about VA loans and pest reports. So a lot of times I'll tell people that VA loans, there's no difference than most other loans. And that's not really true, but I say it to start the conversation off I want to hear what their objections are. And so a lot of people feel like VA loans, they have to be perfect. The house has to be perfect. Everything has to be perfect. That's not true. In some states, though, the only real difference is that the VA says, hey, we've got to have a pest report and a clearance. It's the only loan on the books that has this requirement in some states, not in all states. So I'm looking at, and I'm just going to focus on the Western states because that's where I do business and that's where I'm licensed in like 10 states. The team is licensed in other states. So you can always ask me which states are mandatory, etc. I'm not going to read the whole list, but in Arizona, California, Hawaii, those are really the ones that are on that list for me. There's a lot of others: Ohio, Oklahoma, Puerto Rico, Rhode Island, West Virginia, Texas, Tennessee. So these are states where there's a high probability that there are pest issues. So for example, Alaska is not required because it's so cold up there, termites don't show up. So there's that. Colorado says multiple listed counties. So basically Colorado's on that list too. And Nevada says includes county specific, and it includes Washoe and Clark. So basically Nevada, because that's where most of the people live. So those are on the list as well. Now here's the funny part for me is on this list is appraiser triggered only. So if the appraiser says, gosh, looks like there's dry rot or other issues that we have, the underwriter may call for a pest report and clearance at that time. Guess what, folks? That's exactly the same on FHA, on USDA, on conventional loans, on jumbo loans, on any other loans. So the appraiser triggered only it's a much smaller list. But in my region, Alaska, Idaho, Montana, Oregon, Washington, and Wyoming. So those places, if it looks like it's a problem, the appraiser's gonna call it out, and the underwriters could likely call for a pest report and clearance. Like I said, that's the same on any loan on the books, period. So what is interesting is that, and then to debunk the image that VA has to be perfect house, it doesn't, but they're going to look for health and safety issues. So if you've got like a 4-foot high deck and you don't have any railing on it, or you have inadequate railing on it, an FHA loan, a VA loan, a USDA loan a lot of times the appraiser will call that out and you've got to fix it. The conventional appraiser won't. And so you don't have to fix it, but you still need to know about it. The other part that's very interesting for me is a lot of people say, well, you don't want me to have an appraisal? No, I want you to have an appraisal, period. I mean, excuse me, I want you to have an appraisal. They say, you don't want me to have a pest report? And I say, no, I want you to also have a pest report. But on a conventional loan, an FHA loan, a USDA loan, you're going to say, or a VA loan in Oregon or Washington, or one of the others, Wyoming, Idaho, Alaska, Montana, what's going to happen is you're just not going to say in the contract that you want a pest report. You're going to say, I want to do inspections on the house. Everywhere where they're not required, you're going to say that, because if you say in the contract that you want a pest report on all loans, conventional, FHA, USDA, VA, all of them, we're going to say, great, you got a pest report, let me see it. And then we'll want to see, if we see it, we're going to want to see it cleared. So that is one misnomer. But the thing is that if you don't say, I'm getting a pest report, and you just say, we're getting inspections, you go get a pest report, and let's say you have $3,000 worth of work that needs to be done on that house. So the pest companies typically are a little high on their estimates. So $3,000 worth of work, it's funny because there's certain things that show up on pest reports like earth to wood contact, cellulose debris of a rakeable size. So earth to wood contact is literally like, hey, that fence is on the ground and the fence is touching the house. Well, if you put flashing in between the house and the fence, you're good to go. The fence could go because it's touching the ground, but the house is okay, and that's fixed. Cellulose debris of a rakeable size is wood chips under the house. That's it. So those two things, they might say is, $1,800 to fix it. Well, you can put flashing on, you can invite some friends over for pizza and beers and get some flashing and rake up the cellulose debris. So then you could ask the seller for a seller credit towards closing costs, never bringing up the pest report in the contract, and you'd be safe. So these are some tips and tricks on VA and other loans that kind of, my advice is not, it's harder for me to give advice on one specific loan type. Every time I bring it up, I go, oh, but here's the difference. I like to have the ideas to look at how one loan does it compared to another. And the deal is that people have this misnomer about FHA as well, that the house has to be perfect. It's the same health and safety issues. FHA is actually a little weirder in that they're super specific. If there's a trip hazard like this, conventional doesn't say anything. VA doesn't normally say anything, but FHA will say something. They teach appraisers to say something about it. But a $5 bag of tamp-in asphalt. Now that you put it in there and you smooth it over, now it's not a trip hazard. Done. The other thing is, the worst thing is on FHA loans, and I digress here, but this is an example of how it has to be perfect and where agents are concerned about it, real estate agents. And it's happened over the years. So one of the things is that if you have a garage door opener and you have an older garage door opener, they don't have that beam on the bottom where if a kid, rolls their, tricycle across the beam, it'll stop the garage door opener. Older ones don't have that, or sometimes that's faulty. And you either need to fix the beam, install a beam, or worst case, you just take the entire garage door opener off. You can't turn it off. It has to be removed. So now it's a manual garage door opener and there's no automatic. Then you can put on a brand new one with all the safety features after you buy the house. Or you can put the old one up without the safety features after you buy the house and the lender's not looking over your shoulder. So those kinds of things. So appraisers aren't evil. Underwriters aren't evil. Loan officers aren't terrible. We're just following the rules, and our job is to follow the rules and make sure that we do the right thing per the guidelines. That's it. Have a great day. Okay, how do I stop this thing now?